If you look at the box art, you can tell where this is going to go, right? So I had a week off and wanted to cover a TV show that I watched years ago, mostly because I'm sort of impressed at just how frustrating this show was. Let's talk about a romance show. Nobody knows about it, and those that do probably are all in agreement that this show is rough. This is I Don't Like My Big Brother at All, also known as OniSuki, which is what I'll be calling it because it's really long. It's a really long title. This show wasn't even legally watchable over here in North America years ago when I watched it, and was only accessible through the anime store in Japan, not Unext for some reason. As shown by this box art, the characters are, not good looking, which is a perfect way to transition into who made this show. This show was made by Zex, accurate name BT Dubs, who had been working in the industry for literally decades, mostly a support studio on some anime like Tatsuki Fujimoto 1726 and the 2024 Poketoon series, but also worked on shows like Chubra, Backflip, the Shadowverse series, Frame Arms Girl in conjunction with the beginning after the end animation studio ACAT, and in their early years also worked on a bunch of visual novel adaptations. Some of them were support or collab roles, like the Capo, Canvas 2, even though there wasn't a Canvas 1, Suki Show, and H2O Footprints in the Sand, so they've been all over the place. And if I'm honest, this is probably one of their weaker entries. I guess if this show came out in the 2000s, I'd forgive it, but this aired during the winter 2011 season. The same season as Go Sick, It's Just a Zombie, one of my favorite animes of all time, Mitsudomo Season 2, and one of the best Edo anime adaptations of all time, Emoto Paradise by Goldbear, baby. The subject that's important to our story, however, is specifically something that came out the same year, and that is the OVAs for the anime Ore-i.
Hi, future me here. Yeah, I'm editing the video, and for some reason, every image that I was planning on using got replaced by this orange-haired girl, and, she kind of looks familiar, but yeah, I could work with this.
This TV show, which was initially animated by AIC and then moved over to Sony themselves with their A1 Pictures division, was a pretty strong critical and commercial success when it aired. Heck, even I enjoyed the first season, even though things kind of got fucky with the ending of the first season, specifically the last episode. Now, while I don't think this TV show started at all, obviously, I do think it helped popularize the notion of TV shows like this. And in my opinion, Oniski kind of sucks at everything it tried to be, whether it's the fan service stuff or the romance stuff. The characters are hard to root for. The character design is pretty mediocre. The story is not much, and in my opinion, not a single main character is likable or sympathetic. Everyone in this TV show has some major flaw that hurts them. At least with another TV show I was planning on talking about, Emocho, or recently My Sister is Unusual, which is in the same category as other TV shows like this, I can at least feel some sympathy for Yuya, Mitsuki's brother, because he's not really aware of what's going on and is kind of forced to just deal with it. Meanwhile, with Oniski, I find it hard to root for any of the main characters. In fact, I feel like now that I'm explaining this to you, this show might actually be worse than Ebiten. And if I'm honest, it probably sits in the same field as Ebiten, but it's not worse than it. The only real defense I'm going to be giving for this TV show is that Ebiten's problem centered around the fact that the show was being silly and referenced a bunch of random nonsense that wasn't inherently funny. This TV show is sitting on its own ground while trying to be original, and in my opinion, original TV shows have an automatic handicap above just standard parody shows like Ebiten or Vladlov, as watching a TV show that knows it's being stupid or trying to reference other TV shows that fails miserably is infinitely worse than watching a TV show that just sucks. And that's the case here, because at least it's trying to be something unique even if it sucks. Visually, Ebiten also has some pretty decent animation, and it makes sense coming from AIC, the same company who animated Ore-imo Season 1. Meanwhile, Star Child Records or Zex or whoever had the rights to this show threw it to the same studio that made Chubra. Now, normally whenever I make a video like this, I usually watch the first half of the TV show and give my thoughts and feelings on it, and then watch the second half later. But because I don't really have much time these days to make videos, we're just going to be going through all the episodes in today's video. This will make the video incredibly long, however, I'll try to spice things up to make things a little more interesting. So, you might be asking, how does this show start? Well,
Something tells me that it's going to be extremely painful to watch.
I'm not kidding. That's how it starts, and I already feel like talking about something else.
This looks so bad.
Okay, I can't help myself. Ignoring the... I don't even know how you get in a position like this. You can already tell that the art style is, not good. It could be worse. I mean, X-Arm is a little worse, but in terms of anime that I've watched since I've unsurprisingly never watched X-Arm, yeah, it's terrible. I feel like the characters just look a little too long in their proportions, and their heads are so small. It's strange. Usually when you design a character, you're supposed to make sure all parts of the body are consistent with each other, but it really feels like someone just took a book on how to draw an anime character, or at least got the basic understanding of how to draw one, but didn't really have any time or motivation to polish it. And this is not a knock on the artist, whether it be the art director or the people actually drawing these characters, because they probably had to work with what they could get at the time. I'm just saying it looks rough. Anyway, we find ourselves in cliche number 1, where the main protagonist finds himself in a situation where he's sleeping with a girl.
Oi, Nao, okiro.
Okay, get used to me saying this, but we're skipping this part.
Ah! 今起きた！いや、起きたな！
今朝も進展なしか。
What a stupid plan if you ask me.
なぜお前がここで寝てるのよ。
だって何度起こしても全然起きないんだもん。
Nice save. Anyway, Dumb and Dumber go to school. Now goes to meet up with her friends and makes fun of her brother while she's at it, and Shusuke does some shoujo tropes. How petty can you get? It's fucking breakfast! Bitch! Thankfully, someone punishes the perpetrator for being such a bitch. Anyway, when Nao gets called out for her weird behavior, she acts all super defensive, almost as if she's not aware of what she's doing.
当たり前じゃない。この年でそんなことしてる兄弟なんていないよ。
Because being super defensive like this will surely invalidate everything you were just accused of. Anyway, let's get another cliche out of the way while we're still annoyed. This person makes a big deal out of something very minor again, mostly because of a ulterior motive. Now, ulterior motive is just to prove that she's normal, but considering the audience is the only person that's here, and from the audience perspective she isn't, you probably should just give up. What did I just say?
こんなことして喜んでる私って気持ち悪い。
Hey, at least you're aware, but does self-awareness really save you in this situation? Because in my opinion, it really doesn't. Hey, at least it gives me a new line to play every time you do something weird. Actually, no, fuck it. Let's take that line and let's use it every single time she does something weird in this show. Anyway, this character tries to get closer to Shusuke. I know I only brought it up once and I don't want to bring it up over and over again, but the character design is just that bad. Like, look at these shots of Now. They look terrible, borderline unfinished. Are you telling me this was animated by the same people that made Shoe Brawl? Because even that show has better looking character design. Anyway, Schrodinger's cat realizes that the Mad Hatter took her popsicle and then gets bitchy over it. And I know I'm not playing the audio here, but you don't want to hear it, trust me. Oh man, I know that we're only like a few minutes in, but this show is that painful that I need to take a fucking breather, man. This is So I guess while we are paused, I do want to say something. I actually did work on a video and finished speaking about the first episode of Madaka Kuroi was Impervious to My Charms. I initially made it for a class, and then I made a director's cut version that was about 18 minutes long or so. It follows the format of my traditional videos, and I haven't released it publicly up until this point because I really didn't think it was a lot. Usually on this channel, I try to watch at least half a TV show before deciding to edit and upload it and stuff. But, I mean, if you really want to watch it, just let me know in the comments. Anyway, with that being said, let's try to get through the rest of this episode. Any other 13 episodes? Wait, no fuck. I really don't understand what the motive behind why Now is acting like Now. And the show really doesn't give me a reason as to why, which only annoys me even further because why are you this enamored with messing with Shusuke? Even with all the stuff like Oni Eye, even that had a silly but justifiable reason as to why Akiko wanted to get closer to Octo. Even if the two of them are not— wait a minute, I can't say that. That's a major spoiler. I'm just struggling to figure out any major motivation as to why this character is acting the way she is. She doesn't need one, I guess, but that just makes me question why she's doing it even more.
Also, call me crazy, but did that popsicle just, like, regrow back? Or, it regrew. How, as an animation studio, do you not see that? How do you look at that and go, yeah, that's okay? The show came out in hang on, when did this show come out? The show came out in 2011. How do you not see that? How do you not for a 2011 TV show, this is— Are you— the popsicle looks like it literally melted while she was talking to her mother. I can't do this. I don't think I can fucking do it.
Anyway, armed with comically large hands and a vacuum cleaner. Wait, didn't she say she was going to be cleaning her brother's room? Don't you need the vacuum cleaner for that? So she just came to fuck around? Or is she doing it by hand? Because judging by the fact that she says she obviously came here for another pretty stupid motivation. Anyway, this entire scene is basically now invading her brother's private life by going through all sorts of places, like his bed, under his desk, under another desk, in a closet, and another closet, and I feel bad for your brother. But the problem that I have is if you buy all this stuff physically, where are you going to hide it? And why do you have so much of it? Anyway, she finds a photo album, and this is where the quote-unquote plot starts to finally take form. And essentially, I think she finds out that she's not actually related to Shusuke. She does find an image of another girl, which is equally as annoying. We'll get to her in a minute. But she has twin tails, not a haircut. And yeah, essentially what happened was that the father's best friend and their wife were struck in a car accident. Their daughter now did survive it. However, the trauma from the accident led her to lose her memory, meaning yes, she's not related to her brother at all. Actually, now that I bring it up, it kind of reminds me of something I watched not too long ago. It was animated by Kobadogo, and I can't remember its name. Anyway, this has a good setup for the next part of the plot. So why do we transition to Dumb being an idiot? And Dumber's not much better. If anything, she's probably worse because while the music is sad and stuff, even the music doesn't sound all that serious. It almost sounds as jokey as the show!
そりゃショックだよ。だってこれは
Anyway, this character comes to a very dumb conclusion.
そうだよ。血が繋がってないってことはことを好きになってもノープロブレムってことだよね。つまりごく自然な恋愛。
How many side titties?
I'm watching this show, and it's like the stupidest. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for comparing this show to Imo, because they are nothing alike. This is like a really bad Oni Eye. Not even discuss the fact of whether or not it's better than the Shiuji family children, because let me be perfectly honest, Kobodogo did a really good job on the animation on that TV show. And it has actual serious elements that don't just make fun of itself, even if it is a little stupid. I think that show is okay. This TV show is like, it's like watching, like I said, a really bad Oni Eye. How could you fuck up Oni Eye? It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Let's finish off the first episode with what was initially a heartfelt moment that once again got blasted because the show can't take itself seriously.
私全然気にしてないから。私知ってるよ。12歳頃からエッチな本を集め始めたこととか、14歳の頃から部屋だけティッシュの減りが早くなったこととか。ありがとう。
You can't even do a proper record scratch. Normally I would give an overview as to what I felt about the episode, and I would say stuff like, it's okay, or I particularly didn't like it. But it's hard to praise positive energy out of something that is genuinely awful to watch compared to every other anime that I've done a review on up until this point. I've never watched something that does so many things so universally poorly. The character designs are just not good. The animation is okay, and then goes to horrendous sometimes, and the plot is hard to take seriously. It's kind of like how the main plot of the Shiunji family children really feels like it's only there as a backdrop, because if you took out it would just be another romance show at the end of the day. So yeah, my expectations for this show weren't that great, but holy fuck, it managed to surpass them in the opposite direction. Okay, so let's start the next episode with frustration. So, she does getting embarrassed, so that was a typo, man! Come on! So while Now is about to head out, she notices in the corner of her eye a girl with twin tails as her hairstyle peeking out from somewhere.
気にしすぎか。
I mean, you're not overthinking it. Have you looked at the box? Anyway, this twin tail girl, yeah, she does make an appearance, and it's in the most cliche way possible. Hang on, I'll act out and see if you get it. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce you guys to the third main protagonist in the TV show. Come on in. And of course, it's her. Except she has her hair down. Oh, and bonus points for doing the other cliche where they sit literally right next to the other main protagonist.
Funny. So funny. You can hear me lose motivation for this, right? Because, like, the fuck.
Oh, and while we're at it, let's introduce our main protagonist so that way she can recognize him and all those memories they had when they were younger come back flooding. And Okay, I'm just gonna spice things up because it's so boring. It's so boring, man. Let's just skip this.
これは中学生の時に使っていたあれトリコーダー
Okay, I'll criticize your Uzume behavior later. I went too far. Let's go back a minute. So, before that happens, Iroha meets up with Shusuke and they talk for a minute. She reveals who she is and she's happy, but not for too long because when Iroha talks about wanting to be reunited with Shusuke, Shusuke gets very antsy. Even though she never explicitly mentioned falling in love with him, so I don't know why she would assume that, but regardless, he apologizes. Oh, and if Iroha's entire personality wasn't cliche enough,
約束ちゃんと覚えてるよね
I get that this show came out in 2011, but I still find it hard to believe.
やっぱり私たちこうなる運命なんだよ
That's not how relationships work. Anyway, there's a lot I can't show, so I'll just pick up some pieces and use them. Shusuke runs off. Iroha accuses Shusuke of being in love with Now, and Shusuke says no, which leads me to another thing that I didn't acknowledge up until this point. Yep, it's a harem show. Now, I've mentioned this beforehand, but I didn't actually show the video, so I'll explain it here. I thought harem shows back in the day were pretty alright, but nowadays, like, I don't know, I just get bothered by them these days. I feel like there's no real win scenario. Either it's an instance where everybody wins, which I find unsatisfactory because I was rooting for one character, no one wins, which I find even more unsatisfactory because I was rooting for one character, or a character that I don't like or I'm not interested in wins, which I find ultra unsatisfactory. Unless you create individual arcs for each character like the Amanaki series, and even then that was based off of a visual novel, this was always going to be a problem with harem shows no matter what it is. And I'm sorry, but I just don't really like these kinds of shows these days. I'd rather go for a standard romance show than trying to include a bunch of characters, especially if the TV show is going to have one romantic character like My First Girlfriend is a Gal or My Girlfriend is Showbiz. And I love the latter. It's one of my favorite anime of all time. But anyway, this situation is worse, largely because Shusuke, in his extremely stupid way, acts like a Rudis clone, but worse.
Hi, future me here. Yeah, I just realized I really didn't do a good job of explaining this next scene, so I'm just going to explain it right now. Basically, what happened was that several years back, Shusuke and Iroha played doctor, and in exchange for him seeing her body, she wanted to be her lover. That was a promise that they made.
恥ずかしいけどしゅうちゃんならいいよだからイロハのこと恋人にしてね約束だよ
And the original motive as to why Shusuke even made that promise with her to begin with was pretty stupid as is. And this is the whole conflict and controversy. So yeah, not a good look. Because this guy literally is acting like a Rudis clone.
See, this is what I mean when I say it's hard to root for any of the main characters. All the main characters in this TV show, Shusuke, Iroha, Now, and one more annoying character we'll get to in a minute, all of them are absolutely irredeemable, either because they're annoying or they do so many bad things it works against them. You can't have a TV show where every main character is unlikable or sympathetic, and if you try to force this, it makes it impossible to root for any of the characters, which only brings down the show even more. And this applies to this situation as well, because the entire reason as to why he made that promise to Iroha in the first place was because of something only this fine gentleman would approve of. It's sick. That's what it is. It's sick. And this TV show is trying to make me feel bad for a character that's an absolute scumbag. Fucking hell. And then...
必要なのはこっちでしょさあ好きなの選びなさいよ3万円分私が買ってあげるわ
Another irredeemable person. She's just screaming all sorts of taste and publicly embarrassing Shusuke. How mature of you. In fact, this entire segment kind of pisses me off. It looks bad from both angles. Since he didn't explain anything to Now, if she's assuming there's a problem with him, doing this is not going to help. If she's doing this because she wants attention, it still doesn't look right.
むしろ真人間になれてよかったじゃん
Exactly. And since she doesn't know anything, that'll be the first reaction I'll probably give. Even though I did see it from his angle, I still don't like him, because he's absolute trash. So anyway, Iroha calls Shusuke up to the rooftop, and they have a conversation where Iroha talks about being concerned for Shusuke and his, habits, which causes Shusuke to snap.
もうダメだおしまいだ死ぬ
Because I can't think of any other things that you've done that are equally as embarrassing.
たとえ血のつながりがなくたってとの恋愛なんか成立しないって
Wait a minute. But I don't think Shusuke ever told you anything about that, so why doesn't he question it? If someone told me I owned a copy of Deal or No Deal on DVD, I would wonder how they even know. Like, what person owns a copy of Deal or No Deal on DVD? Okay, we're moving on.
街の景色が見たくなって屋上に来てみたら偶然なおちゃんのお兄さんに会って
Nice save, Trash Factory. Is every character in this show unlikable? Now, this is not really the main thing I wanted to talk about with Iroha. All this weirdo bullshit is weirdo bullshit, because if we're having to talk about the low point that this character has, well, this is about as low as it gets, motherfucker. You see that telescope in the background? Yeah, that telescope is aimed directly at our main protagonist's house, which means this person has been essentially stalking this character. I'm sorry, what is the genre of this TV show? Comedy? How is this supposed to be funny? Imagine saying to someone, oh yeah, I'm just going to casually peer through your window while you're watching March Madness, but don't worry, it's just because I love you. Would you be laughing? Like, this is like Myra from Family Matters, but worse. Oh, no, because it gets even better. Because she has this telescope, you already know where this is gonna go if you watched any, like, NTR anime or something like that. Oh no, this person is blackmailing me and is threatening to show some stuff to the world. I better do what they say as opposed to just calling the police, because why be logical when you can be stupid? I've seen this happen in so many other anime. My wife is a student council president. My first girlfriend is a gal. Even Henzuki, and even that show wasn't even that good. They all rely on the same shit. I wish someone would just break down and call the police. This episode might actually be worse than the first one just because this character's here and give him awake. This show is fucking garbage. And fuck you. We're moving on! Next episode, and yep, Shusuke's got a date with Dumb and Dumber HD. And now we have Dumb and Dumber 3, which is... It'll be fine as long as you don't own a copy of Uzumade. I hate you. Anyway, these two go on a date. They go to the movies, they walk around for a bit, and we have the stalker getting stalked by another stalker who's getting stalked by other stalkers as they go on a pseudo date. At this point, all of these goobers are not even trying. You can literally see them by just turning your head or looking at the corner of your eyes. Considering we're sitting comfortably right now, though, I might as well talk about this person's plan, in quotation marks. Her plan, in quotation marks, is to basically downplay the other members of the harem to the point where Shusuke doesn't care about them anymore and he comes crawling to her. Hence why she's critical of now, and thanks to the blackmail, she has the supposed edge. It's still pretty stupid and horrible though. I guess we can assume that by doing this whole date thing, it gives her an excuse to get closer to him and stuff, which should theoretically make anyone Ooh, so maybe this was planned. But no, that doesn't make any sense at all. You'd have to be extremely lucky to be able to do something like that. Like, you'd have to be pressing down on four-leaf clovers for days! Anyway, Iroha tries once again to push forward with a relationship, but Shusuke apologizes and refuses. Just because you're going on a pseudo date doesn't mean you're suddenly lovers. Apart from the stalkers, you're outside in the middle of the night and there's barely anybody out. I guess this will result in something, which will just be frustrating and I'll probably make fun of it, but still. Anyway, Iroha, completely blanking out, charges towards somewhere but is ex-machina'd by Dumb, who contacts Dumber and tells him that dinner is ready, leading Dumber to return home and Dumb giving authority somehow to her own mother to keep quiet about her activities. How did you get rid of the scarf and glasses so quickly? Also, why do this if you're just going to ask her this in the next scene? This puts your entire plan of don't tell him I left the house immediately into question, because who asks if you were out with someone if they go out? Usually it's, what took you so long, or welcome home, or how was your day? Never, oh, so you were out with someone? This comes off as creepy. Also, when you do stuff like this and this, it makes it more obvious, because again, who does stuff like this unless you're trying to get back at someone for being an ass? You don't do stuff like this when you don't have anything to hide, unless Nao's trying to make him paranoid over the fact that there's a chance something leaked out, but still, it doesn't make any sense. Again, it feels weird to believe something like this when you consider the questions she asked when she came home. You really have a lot of free time, do you? I can think of a lot of better things that you could be doing than looking outside someone's house with a telescope for over half a day. And this is a bad thing for you because now she knows. Isn't this technically in your favor? Let me explain. Now that Nao knows, this will cause some distance between Nao and Shusuke, which could give you an opportunity to strike. You have something to blackmail him with, so what's stopping you from going all the way with him? Actually, why am I even giving advice to this person? She might be the worst character in the entire cast, and that's saying a hell of a lot. And I thought Now and Discount Rudas were bad, but Iroha, like, Iroha is what would happen if you took 10 Rudases and cultivated a beast out of them.
しゅうちゃんのことは全部わかるんだからね。
You just... Wow, you have a lot of free time. Like, more free time than me. But not as much free time as Shusuke, who, probably suffering from either withdrawal or mountains of guilt, goes out for a bit and now goes along with. He hits up a convenience store and looks at a magazine.
違うでしょ。ターゲットはそんなおされ雑誌じゃない。
Are you trying to raise a hermit? Regardless, I was right. It's the former. He's suffering from withdrawal. Or you could just use the internet. There's always that.
今すっごく輝いてる。
Again, what's your motive, girl? Besides, I love Shusuke, I can't think of another reason as to why she would be doing this. It's not that hard to write a motive. So for the last scene in this episode, let's end it with this banger of a girl, because it allows me to rip into her before we move on to episode 4.
はるちゃん、ひろりん、おはよう。いろはちゃん、おはよう。
Huh, so they do say birds of a feather flock together. Next episode, it wouldn't be a fan service or, hell, even just a regular romance TV show without some scenes of characters in swimsuits and shit. So here's some of that for you. We could also talk about the character designs again, but still. Oh, and all that stuff that I just showed you, that was an action prologue, one of my least favorite cliches of all time. When something starts in the middle of the story to rope you in, but then cuts to the beginning of the story to set it up. I guess the only reason as to why is to just hook the audience, but whenever I see stuff like this, either I skip the action part or the prologue part, because it feels like I've been baited into watching something just to watch the show switch and set up said interesting thing. And I honestly see that as a waste of time. Just show me the things that the prologue has and don't try to bait me.
というわけで、明日私を海に連れて行くことを要求します。
Treating a human like a pawn.
おごりで。
Treating a human like an ATM. Ignore that.
いいために使うお金なんてないってことか。
With that attitude, I don't think he should be paying you, regardless.
そうだよね。もうお付き合いって。
I'm sorry, let's trace back to a quote that I said several minutes ago. Leading Dumber to return home and Dumb giving authority somehow to her own mother to keep quiet about her activities. What happened to that plan? Did you just forget? You might as well just come out and said it. Even she realized she fucked up because she tries to just smile through the bullshit you can see on her breath.
Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
I take it back. She's still unaware her plan is crumbling. Good to know.
This character frickin' sucks.
汚いこの私めにどうか5000円をお貸しくださいませ。
Can we please just skip to the beach scene?
ね、髪言うのに手間取っちゃって。
Okay, I take it back. Let's cut to a different scene. I want to see this character.
I never met a character that makes you want to break something so hard as Iroha. Like, if you get rid of her, this show will be infinitely better.
Okay, fine. So here's Iroha. Why is she here? Because the plot wants her to be.
入るなんて嬉しい。
For once, I actually think I agree with Now.
偶然じゃないよね。
The thing with harem shows is that you have to have at least one respectable character to make the show interesting, to make the audience actually want to root for them. But this show doesn't have that. And this is the biggest problem with the show. I really want to get in depth surrounding it, but I'll have to wait until she comes into the field. Because if you thought this show was irritating as is, with unlikable characters and a frustrating story, well, you ain't seen nothing yet! A good majority of this section turns into the biggest test of my patience of my life. Mostly a competition surrounding Discount Grouch and a wannabe Coco Matsumoto, sharing ice cream. Except less peaceful and less fulfilling. Playing in the water, volleyball, the works. And all of it is about as annoying as you would expect.
にしても、どこがそんなにいいのかね。
See, that's what I'm trying to say! Why root for this guy?
Okay, I'm working on a script right now, and I'm only saying this so that way I put this before the shot. But I have a strange feeling that there's going to be something that's gonna happen. Whether it be, like, one of them gets whisked away or something like that. And then they need to save it. Preferably Iroha, because I don't really like that character.
Also, these guys had ample time to move, and they just choose not to, for some reason. I don't know why, unless they really just wanted to set up tension by knocking out someone. Speaking of ample time, these guys had ample time to grab his body and bring him to shore, and they did nothing. Why? This show is so annoying. Hey look, it's Shizuru and what is clearly a dream sequence. You know what? Why am I even watching this sequence? Let's just skip it.
Quiet, you awful man!
Yeah, because screaming at his unconscious body will somehow wake him up. Honestly, I feel like these people are just a really shitty group of so-called friends. The next scenes are just the worst. It's basically a mix of dream sequences with Shizuru, Shusuke's love interest we met in the first episode of Nowhere Else, and these people not calling the ambulance or really doing anything substantial to help Shusuke, who is currently unconscious. And with all this, it's a miracle the guy survived, especially when they just beat the shit out of him for no reason. If you needed another reason to review these characters less, now's your chance. And considering what you know about chest compressions, I'm almost positive one of you goobers are gonna fuck this up. Maybe instead of standing there looking distraught, how about you help Shusuke by stopping these two? And these two losers bicker and argue about who's actually gonna go through with it. And all I'm thinking is right now is just wondering if the next episode's gonna be less painful. Next episode, I wish it was the last. Sushie buys a book, runs into a mysterious person who will very obviously be revealed later. They accidentally grab the wrong thing, don't look into the packaging, and run off. They both realize they were wrong and hijinks ensues.
これこそ噂に聞くラブレターというものではないでしょうか
Dude, the last thing this show needs is another character to hate. And nope, it turns out to not be a love letter. Instead, it turns out to be something much more dubious and worse. And don't worry, I'll be breaking this letter down.
高梨修介に次ぐてめえ自分のエロ本と間違えて人が買った本を持ち帰ってんじゃねえ殺すぞ
First of all, both of you made the same mistake. You grabbed his mag, he grabbed yours. It's not solely his fault, so your victim blaming makes no sense. Mistakes like these are why you should double check to make sure the bag you picked up is the right one, but when you're rushing home in a frantic panic, it's something you can miss. I'll give you that. You can't even decide if you want to blackmail him by giving it to his parents or ripping it. Even your threats seem rushed.
しゅうちゃん、ちょっと様子がおかしいわ。いつもあんな感じだよ。だからちょっとって言ってるじゃない。
Not like you two are much better. Hey look, it's Professor X. And hey look, it's loser number 3, also known as Mayuka Kondo. But we'll get to her later. For now, we gotta talk about how Shusuke is going to get himself out of a pickle he got himself into. Because he ripped the book in a fit of rage.
エロ仲間に喋りやがってチンカス野郎が今度舐めた真似したらてめえのエロ本の命もそれまでだ
What do you mean by defy? He didn't do anything but ask for help. All you said in your last threat was to return the book that you lost. You didn't mention anything about avoiding trying to get for help. This person might be the most sloppiest threat giver thrower ever. Anyway, we finally get to see who this mysterious Professor X even is. And there's nothing else to be worried about. No! We are just moving on!
I'm scared. Help me. No way! The class rep is actually into BL?
So yeah, shocker. What did I say earlier? This character is one of the main characters after all.
しゅうちゃんの様子がおかしかったから監視を強化してたんだけど、案の定相手は女の子。追跡してきてよかったわ。
Not much to say that I haven't already said. Oh boy, I'm guessing your audience is laughing and applauding. And I find it weird how everybody at this point is just totally fine with it. They might awkwardly laugh or question it, but nobody tries to stop it. Okay. Let me talk about this a little more. This is a problem I had with several anime before, like Hensuki and Wataten. The creepiness of some of these characters and the split between borderline illegal and funny. And that's important because this show is supposed to be a rom-com, but I haven't really found any of the actions funny nor entertaining. Wataten was the same way. Koko Matsumoto is probably my least favorite character in that show because instead of doing anything interesting with her, she becomes an almost borderline carbon copy of Miyako, just remove the decentness. The same goes for most of the cast of Hensuki. That TV show was just as frustrating because almost everybody uses the same stupid and repetitive blackmail technique upon our main character, and instead of fighting back or calling the police, he just sucks it up and allows whatever to happen. Regardless of whether it's a personal preference, I'm just gonna come out and say it as both an opinion and an otaku. And this is very similar to what I said with Amori-sensei and Ebi-chan. Having characters be creeps isn't funny, substance or not, it's just annoying, uncomfortable, and makes the characters like Iroha harder to root for. Because who finds value in a character whose life is dictated by 3 unlikable girls? As much as I despise Monokawai and Madaka is impervious to my charms, at least she didn't go full Sam Fisher and stalk Madaka, because that would be fucked up.
今度もうやめにしよう俺の娘たちこと熱射害を破いたところでお前の BL 本は帰ってこないならばこっちの BL 本を楽しむ方がよほど前向きだとは思わないか
I feel like that could be considered a bit condescending if you ask me. He's basically saying, give up trying to finance media you want to watch, so use this instead. Also, I kind of find it hard to believe that this guy, who was one of the 2 reasons responsible for the big part of this show's conflict, is now trying to act assertive, even though he was panicking just minutes earlier.
Okay, I'm just gonna take over with this, side take, because I was initially planning on including this in the original script, but I'm just gonna say all this stuff freeform, unscripted, kind of like most side takes. This next portion of the video is basically her blackmailing the main protagonist again, and I don't want to talk about that in the main script because I'm so fucking tired of having to talk about shit like this in the main script. So basically, here's a very short segment where I talk about it, and let's move on to the next part because I'm done talking about blackmail.
So Kondo finally introduces herself, walks with Shusuke to school, offers her lunch, and she seems nice on the surface, but as we discuss, it's all an illusion.
Next episode. Next fucking episode.
Great start. I'm already gonna have to start censoring things. Now these 2 losers are starting to work with each other. Why? I guess they view Kondo as that much of a threat that they need to invade Shusuke's privacy even more than they already did. Not like this guy had privacy anyway, I guess. Anyway, let's ignore the privacy invasion scene, which takes up about 6 minutes of the episode. Makes sense. There's barely a solid reason to root for Shusuke.
I gotta show you this badass. I gotta read this. I gotta read this in the unscripted form. I gotta read this, and this has to be unscripted. Okay, one of the characters straight up says, and I quote, Shu-chan has more than enough good points to cancel all that out. I want to fucking die, man.
You have to remember that it's hard to wipe off a scumbag's track record, and pretty much everyone in this room fits a descriptor of a scumbag in some way. I call bullshit for 500, Ken Jennings! Anyway, hijinks ensues, I keep losing my sanity, and he throws everybody out. One thing I've noticed is that these losers keep changing their appearance, just in case if Shusuke likes something, that'll suddenly cause him to gravitate towards them. Jesus, desperate, are we? Yeah, cause you're all sunshine and rainbows and not the biggest creep of the entire TV show. Oh no, there are actually plenty. If you've ever watched a show called OniSuki, they're all over the place. There's only 3, but there's only 4 main characters anyway, so 3 out of 4 ain't a bad number. Anyway, this episode becomes a sort of race where Iroha and Nao do the thing and watch as Shusuke interacts with Kondo, and they get jealous. And obviously they don't do anything because they would be called out for it and Shusuke would hate them for it. But treating the audience like idiots, in my opinion, is far more annoying and harsher if anything.
高梨くん、ボーイズラブが好きな女の子って正直どう思う？
まあいいんじゃない？
I agree with that.
じゃあ男の子同士の恋愛ってどう思う？
本人同士が付き合ってるんなら。
Love what you want. I honestly don't mind.
じゃあね、付き合ってる男の子同士がふとしたきっかけでエッチしちゃうのってどう思う？
That is an extremely loaded thing to ask someone regardless of how long you've known them for.
じゃあ高梨くんが男の子に告白されたとしてその子が嫌いじゃなかったらエッチしてもいいと思う？
That is still a loaded thing to be asking someone. Is this person like that one character from Henzuki? Also, we went from vagueness to specifics. Now that the dust has settled, or at least calmed down for a little, I think it's time to talk about the biggest problem with this TV show. I mentioned this at the start of the video, but what I want to do is I want to talk about how unlikable every character is now that we finally met all 3 of our main harem leads. The problem with having a harem with unlikable protagonists like this one is that it makes it pretty difficult to root for any of them. Hell, it makes it hard to care about the story at all. It doesn't mean that you have to like every character in a harem. I personally have nothing to say about many of the characters in Temple besides Awa Baskuyo, because none of them particularly interest me. But that doesn't mean they're bad characters. The problem for me comes when you give me no reason to root for any of the characters, not just 1 or 2. And this show is pretty reminiscent of that. None of the characters are rootable, likable, or sympathetic. I personally find Nao to be frustrating. Her bro-con tendencies, her possessive nature, and the way that she dictates her brother's life ruled her out for me almost immediately. It doesn't help that she goes to her brother's room when he's not home and sometimes stalks him just to see where he goes. Iroha is pretty much irredeemable in my opinion. She's stalkery, annoying, and anytime she shows up on screen, I think to myself, get rid of her. Kondo is probably the least worst character of the show, and even then, the bar was never that high. Her obsession with BL is probably the best thing about her, as it gives her some uniqueness compared to everyone else, but nevertheless, she still suffers from the same problem as the other two, where she's passionate in the wrong areas and can be annoying at times to both the audience and the characters, and not just because she's interested in the protagonist. The protagonist himself, Shusuke, is also hard to root for in his own way due to his weirdo tendencies, over fascination, and because 3 people like him, his interests wane a ton and can result in general conflict with all 4 main characters. If I had to ask where he fits, he'd almost ironically be sitting in the same hammock as now in terms of personality. When you have nobody to root for in a TV show where you're supposed to be rooting for people, or in the case of a romance TV show, rooting for someone to fall in love with our main protagonist, it makes it so fucking hard to watch because, like, who cares?
そんなに嫌か BL 嫌に決まってるだろ
Wait, doesn't this kind of contradict what you said earlier, where you said that people could like the stuff they like? I'm guessing BL really shook Shusuke to the core. Let's not tell this guy about a service called Ocean Mail. He'd probably be too deep in the rabbit hole. That's what she said. I refuse to tell you what she actually said. Next episode. Like I said, we're going to the entire 13-episode series, not just half. God help me.
ティッシュよし財布よし携帯よしハンカチよし
Oh, I can already tell you that there is a better way that this could be handled, because they just took the same image, zoomed out 4 times or 5 times, while putting a circle that doesn't even stay on screen. It's weird. Weird decisions all over.
とすると久しぶりにいろはちゃん私でもないわ
So Iroha is the new Professor X. Interesting.
嘘ばっかり昨日2回もしてたくせにまあいつもは5回だから少ないけどプライベートはないんだね
Your Honor, I find this line to be very hypocritical. I feel like someone even told you that yourself.
What, are we gonna be going to, like, Akiba or something like that? Wow, I was right. Huh, who would've guessed?
甘いわねあのコレクションはそんなもんじゃないわ
I'm sorry. Let's just get back to... Yeah, stop right here. Play.
プライベートはないんだね
Your Honor. Yeah, we've heard it past me. Let's move on. So Shusuke and his band of misfits finally make it to Akiba and stockpile on the greatest.
I like how in the background of this scene that you can see right here, there is an advertisement for Yusuke no Sora, one of the most controversial anime and visual novels of all time. If you look at the background for this shot, you can see an advertisement for Kiss Sis, or Kiss X Sis, which I believe is animated by Feel and one of Feel's earlier projects. Both are actually animated by Feel, but this one is in the same vein as something like Imo and all the other shows.
And they also have a look around, and Shusuke, according to Now, is very interested in one thing.
黒パンスト
And it's bad for him to be interested in it because why? Everyone has their own flavor, their own taste. So shaming someone for having interest just feels wrong to me.
In this shot, we can see a character who has a design that's very similar to one of the outfits from Chain Soldier, I think. I've seen that design before. It's not one-to-one, but it looks very close. I know I've been geeking out, but I really need a break from this TV show. Speaking of stuff that I recognize, I believe the design for this character she looks very similar to that character from Panty Pony Dash, the one that wears glasses and I think has green hair. It's been a while since I've watched Panty Pony Dash, I'm sorry.
恐るべしミスター
So what's the problem? Like I said, he's just having fun in his own way, and you're acting like he's walking on the wrong path or something.
隊長我々清純な少年はなまだこのような店に足を踏み入れてはならない
So buying stuff like this is okay on its own, but going into a place like this is bad? I feel like there's a double standard in there somewhere, but I can't see it. I'd also like to see Articles 1 to 147 of the Constitution of the AGE Explorers, because that actually sounds incredibly made up.
ダメだよそれは女子大生ものだよそんなおばさんがいいの
I feel like I shouldn't be watching this show anymore, but most importantly, I feel targeted here. Are you saying I'll never fall in love because I'm in college? Damn you now! Anyway, these two bicker and argue about personal taste, which is funny because that kind of stuff is definitely opinion, and whenever people fantasize, they usually do it to have fun. Oh, and also, I am deeply disappointed in all of you. There's 4 of you bastards, and not one person is interested in tomboys? Really?
お前ら夢見すぎだ。そんなリアリティのないことでは AGE 探検隊の未来はない。お言葉ですが隊長。リアリティって何ですか？
そうです隊長。現実が俺。
Some of the bickering and picking, and Shusuke and his friends pick a DVD for him to watch. Meanwhile, Iroha's trying her best. And the 4 bickering losers break off and do their own thing, because they're too sensitive to actually respect each other's preferences. You know what? Since we're throwing elbows, I might as well get into the mix. I think tomboys are pretty fantastic, and I love tomboy characters. Now that I'm actually watching this episode, this might arguably be the most fun I've had with the show, and it comes down to the fact that it ignores the central conflict and kind of has fun in its own weird way. There are annoying things. It makes sense. I'm watching OniSuki. But it's not the insufferable category levels of annoying. That kind of shows you how unfortunate the show is, am I right? The fact that the best episode of the show is the one that ignores the plot, that's kind of sad, isn't it? Speaking of plot, now that all of them are broken up, it's up to Shusuke to try to bring them back together, even if it's technically speaking a little difficult. I've got an idea. Go to Anime. I've always wanted to go there, but being in a different country is kind of hard to do. Eventually, Shusuke experiences some memories of meeting his gang for the first time, charges to find them. They all meet up coincidentally in the same spot they all left.
How convenient.
And realize that their tastes are different, but that's okay, and they respect each other's opinions now. They go to a cafe, meet some maids, and that's the end of the episode. Now that we're halfway through the show, I just wanted to do a one-time thing for this video. I want to talk about my favorite episode so far. Episode 7 is obviously my favorite because it ignores the main plot. It's fun to watch the AGE explorers get goofy in Akiba, and it's nice to finally take a break from the primary plot, and hell, pointing out some of the shows I recognize is also fun to do. Even Aloha was competent in this episode, and she's usually at the bottom of the totem pole, so yeah, episode 7 is at the top. I'm also perfectly fine with episode 1. It's the least annoying out of all the episodes I've watched so far. Iroha isn't in it, so that's a plus. You can forgive some of the comedy, and we do get a serious conversation that comes up at the start, which then sets us up for something big, but it never happened, so I'm disappointed in that. But other than that, it's okay. Every other episode was rough, and I feel like things are only gonna get rougher in the second half. Alright, it's time for episode 8, and we start off with a habit we all have probably gotten used to by now, but things come crashing down for Shusuke.
先週やったテストを返すぞ。赤点の生徒は追試があるから覚悟しとけよ。
Oh man, I'm wondering how could this happen? It couldn't have anything to do with Shusuke, prioritizing everything besides schoolwork. Well, you reap what you sow.
頑張ろうね、高梨くん。
Maybe this is the reason as to why you can't focus on studying. Just a thought. So it's time for a study sesh, also known as the biggest bloodbath in the entire TV show. And that's saying a lot because there are several. But before we get to that, there are a few loose ends we need to tie up because that starts at almost the 4-minute mark. And we are barely hitting the 3-minute mark.
お邪魔します。あれ？何ですかそれ？
I'm honestly shocked you would even allow Kondo to be near Shusuke without some surveillance. You would think that she'd be against the idea in general, unless if creepy McCreepster is looking outside of the window with her giant telescope. But that doesn't make the situation any better. Who likes a character that does stuff like this? Never mind, creepy McCreepster is here.
I know I said I wasn't going to be commenting on the character designs that frequently because I've already commented on the character designs, but one thing that I didn't notice up until the 8th episode is why do the characters have these weird lines across their bodies? And I've been seeing this throughout the TV show. For some reason, like, you just see these straight lines across, like this shot, for example, featuring Iroha. Why does her shoulders have, like, these lines to represent her, like, shoulders? I feel like there's an easier and better way to do this.
Place your bets. Do you think this study session will go well? Is it A, no, or B, no?
クラスメートのみならず幼馴染まで。まさか二股。
I'm starting to think the father figure really needs to watch this TV show alongside with me. He'd make some good material.
シュウちゃん、補習なんて絶対嫌だよ。
Reasonable.
せっかく夏休みなのに彼氏が遊んでくれないなんてさ。
Unreasonable. Because who'd want to be your girlfriend? All you do is look at people through a giant telescope.
あんまり成績は良くなかったけど、こんなに赤点取ったことなかったよね。
It's almost like all you people and your bickering over each other is the reason as to why stuff like this happened.
限ってまさか
This character's a fucking idiot. I'm surprised she hasn't just straight up said, yeah, I saw you with that other girl.
You know what? I don't care anymore. Do whatever you want. You can't make anyone in this show happy, and if you try to, someone will get pissed off because they can. From my experience, this show is forcing these conflicts on me, and if I try to fight back, this show will do it twice more. And just when you think this show won't manufacture some tension, the show fucking does it again!
そうそう、しゅうちゃんってやっぱり医学部志望なの？
Can we skip this scene? No? Not yet? There's one more thing I need to look at? Fine. What's this one more thing?
しゅうちゃんってこんな本読んでるんだ。
おいあんまジロジロ
And yet he still got a failing grade. Cool, now I can skip this scene. I'm skipping it because at this point, this scene just feels like a desperate attempt for 3 desperate women to get the attention of one guy.
I mean, I guess if we have to talk about it, I mean, here's a few snippets.
Speaking of desperation, even though we already got a beach scene, this show decides to offer another scene at a pool, even though they technically both could be considered the same, but whatever.
私は泳げないからここで見てるよ。
Then why did you suggest going to the pool? It's the same logic as playing GTA 5 if you're a pacifist. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
そうなんですか。残念。それじゃあしゅうちゃん、早く行こう。
Wow, this is literally her doing the whole, oh no! Anyway, meme.
ねえねえ、水飲もう。修羅場もますます泥沼かって感じ。ヒロリン、あんたマジでいい死に方しないよ。
I second that. Anyway, Shusuke ain't going to allow this character to get away with not swimming in a place designed for swimming, and encourages Kondo to at least try it, even offering to teach her. I won't lie, without sarcasm, I honestly think this scene is one of the better scenes in this TV show, and it's pretty sweet. It actually tempts me to respect Kondo as a character a little more, even if it's very hard to do that.
何よしゅうちゃん、プールで結婚するのは彼女だけの特権でしょ。ここに至ってもなお、と言い張るなんて。あのエロ女、水の中でいかがわしいことしてるんじゃないでしょうね。その発想がそもそもエロ女なのでは。
It actually takes 2 to know one.
そう思って見てると想像の翼が広がりますな。
Case in point. So now, probably the character who had the least amount of presence in this segment by far, and probably out of pure jealousy over the fact that she's the only one who hasn't gotten any proper screen time, offers Kondo a drink, which is actually an excuse to get closer to her. Meanwhile, Iroha has other plans that she probably shouldn't have thought of. Now asks what she meant when she said that she liked her brother differently than the way Iroha and Now did. To which she says nothing. She says nothing substantial. What a waste of time, because Shusuke is about to go down Splash Mountain.
よかった。みんな、心臓マッサージ成功よ。あれって心臓マッサージなの？
This is a very stupid way of ending the episode. And you wanna know what's stupider? They did this a second time! Next episode, let's run through the pre-intro quickly. Shusuke gets all the items Kondo wanted. Now invites him to a festival. He turns her down, she says something that wins him over, you get the point. Why do I need to take clips to prove it? And just to make things extra spicy and annoying, Iroha gets involved for reasons that even the finest philosophers would have a hard time figuring out. I think this show just wanted to irritate me more.
Hi, future editing me here. And there is something that I need to mention that I didn't mention in the video itself. One thing that I also wonder is, how does Shusuke not question anything up until this point? Like, Iroha just randomly comes at him with the yukata, and she's wearing it. And he doesn't question how they were even aware that they were going to a festival. It just feels weird, because if someone came up to me and told me something that I was thinking about, I would be questioning that as well. It seems that the only person that's left in the dark in this TV show is Shusuke, which I find weird because they're not really doing a good job at hiding it.
ちょうどよかった。お祭りに行くんでしょ？私も一緒に。
Trash!
I guess now's a good time to ask, like, you live next door, but like, did you suddenly have a kimono lying around that you could use just in case this happened? Again, I can believe a lot of things, but you even change your hairstyle. Stuff like that takes time. Time that seems to be infinite in this person's dictionary. Fuck, why are you even here? You should be messing around with Pachinko if you're this lucky. You could bankrupt the joint! Anyway, these two bicker and argue over this. There's only 4 more episodes, Jordan. You can do this. You can fucking do this.
早くいろはちゃんを巻いて二人っきりにならないと。
Oh, so now she's a threat, not during any of these other times. No, not during these instances. But suddenly she becomes a threat here. Good to know. Great continuity! And I believe Iroha's thinking the exact same way. Meanwhile, these 3 goobers are on an adventure to find some stuff hidden in a shrine. And they get help from an old man who helps them by locating a Frankfurter stand. Again, breaking character for a second, I actually find these moments fun, mainly because the only other moments in this show are...
金魚すくいのふりをしている間、たっぷりと。
Oh, and you also got stuff like...
いろは、あっちの店がいい。
And?
いいのよ、しゅうちゃん。しゅうちゃんのエアガンで私を撃ち抜いてな。
Okay, that pun was actually pretty good. I hate to say this because I really don't want to give her any praise, but point goes to Iroha.
That ought to do it. You broke it, so that ought to not do it. Yeah, I'd be annoyed too. How dare you break a plushie? Then there's the chocolate banana, which is really upsetting. Alright, that's enough of that. Let's get back to the AGE boys. They head to the Frankfurter stand and manage to get a hot dog to stand on its own. We don't even really know what this is. For all I know, it can literally just be Blackbeard's treasure. The Fruit Loops guy.
You'll have to get past us first. This delicious Fruit Loops cereal is mine.
Our trio then head by and meet Shusuke and the gang. If you're that concerned for him, go after him instead of just screaming his name multiple times and set an echo place. So Shusuke's friends drag him into the wild, give him the lowdown, and they find the almighty shrine, and everybody gets flashed. It might be the most cursed thing ever.
Everything is a fetish these days.
Shut up!
でもさ、なおも随分と重くなったな。
重くなったんじゃない。成長したの。
成長？そういえばさっきから背中に。
Man, this show just can't have a decent moment with Nao and Shusuke, can it? And even then, this episode isn't over yet, damn it! Because Kono barely had any screen time until the very end, i.e. now!
ただいま、高梨くん。
おかえり。
残念。せっかく浴衣を着てきたのに間に合わなかったか。
You're a little late. Try again.
高梨くん、浴衣が着崩れちゃってる。
本当だ、ヨレヨレだよ。
Man, this show literally can't end an episode on a high note, can it? Next episode. For those who care about what this girl is, her name is Ron Yatagi, the sister of Rin Yatagi. She, unsurprisingly, is a cosplayer. She's about as weird as the rest of the cast. I thought we were gonna have a normal character for once, but I guess I was wrong.
朝一で見ちゃったよ。あれ、預言者と交信してんだってね。強烈。頭いいらしいのにね。
Define smart! So this person I introduced a few minutes ago, her name is, like I said, Rin Yatagi. But her name, according to these goobers, is Princess Layla, a cosplayer in the underground world, and... Didn't you lose to say earlier that this was some kind of trap? What made you change your mind so suddenly? Regardless, they head onto the rooftop. She kind of reminds me of, like, Yuki from the disappearance of Yuki-chan. Okay, warning to my audience, turn your brain off for what I'm about to explain because it's stupid and wild. Essentially, this person is explaining identity, and she's talking about her world falling apart and the king of destruction and the planet could be moving towards its doom, and she was looking for, in her own words, not mine, human trash. And I'm gonna stop you right there, Missy. Hey, I mean, while this character is definitely eccentric, at least she's not possessive of blackmailer or Iroha, so there's that.
I think this is in over my head. Like, I like weird, but this is just too weird.
I guess this plot is also pretty okay, because at least it isn't the main plot with the harem cast, just goofiness. Also, I guess this is how it feels when someone gives you a backhanded compliment.
なぜ俺たちがクズ人間だと分かったんですか?
At least he's not trying to deny it. So they got their first assignment.
今夜白装束で集合。どんなジャンルだ?
I beg of you to elaborate because I don't need to explain why that might sound wrong, right? So nightfall arrives and they head out with cameras and stuff, and I'm shocked to say this, but now actually has a pretty good take.
通常の探検活動を放置して草した場合はないんだけど。 禁断のアンダーワールド
Congratulations, So. You somehow made Now look good. The same person who creeps out on Shusuke and also stalks him in the middle of the night. Cool!
無理ですね
You know, you're kind of just asking for it at this point.
どこら辺が禁断なんだろうただの撮影会って感じねきっちり現れてるねいろはちゃん
This show held itself back for 8 minutes. I'm impressed. Here's a Gold Star TV show. You earned it. Now let's go for a record of 10 minutes.
出るかも
That hard cut. That was a straight up hard cut. Are you kidding me?
Wow, even Iroha knows how trash she is, that she started slapping herself. Anyway, I'll let the scene play for a second.
服を脱ぎなさい
Okay, so stop playing. Let's just skip the scene.
もう体柔らか
I guess I should mention this now. Is Ron aware of these two, or is she somehow as clueless as everyone else and just doesn't notice these two? Or is she just riffing? I think she's just riffing at this point and doesn't care because she's a cosplayer.
No more bouncing that ball!
Hi, we have a visitor.
Never mind, the riffing is done. Wait a minute. If you followed her here and have a flashlight, you could have easily found these two goobers, but I'm guessing they're hiding so well you can't see them, right? Right? Oh yeah, I mentioned this minutes ago. For those who care about what this girl is, her name is Ron Yatagi, the sister of Rin Yatagi. Anyway, she starts losing it in front of her, and considering a lot of her feelings are very reminiscent of mine in this TV show, I'll just let her riff.
もうやめてジロルいない預言者いない見もしない相手と電話するのやめてこっちまで頭がおかしくなるわあの手の男子には絶対言っちゃいけない言葉よね女の子
I don't, like, I have too much shit to say about this part. 1. So you knew she was here, but just pretended she wasn't, or didn't care? 2. Why didn't you call them out up until this point, or even at all? Number 3. Instead of calling the police or doing anything to stop these two, you take matters into your own hands. 4. Iroha, you're much worse, so stop looking at her like that. Speaking of which, these three have a conversation together, and it's awkward as fuck.
物好きですね。あんなブリーフ男を追いかけているなんて。
それって初対面なのに失礼じゃありませんか
But just because it's rude doesn't mean it's wrong, right? Facts don't care about your feelings, Iroha. When you do all this shit throughout the TV show before and after this point.
いつもトランクスなんですから
Is there a single character in this show that can be considered normal? Hang on, let me go to analysts and check. Nope. Fuck her. She's actually not that bad. She's weird. She's not great. He's fine. He's a weirdo, infuriating. Okay, looking through analysts, I found exactly one non-asshole character in this show. Bravo, Haruka Kato. Speaking of which, Rin offers to help now.
Trash!
In an effort to... Stop her sister? That was her sister? No way! And according to Rin, she was trying to find a partner in her own eccentric way, and judging by what I saw in the past 11 minutes, I can tell you for free that it's not going well at all. And what is odd is the same information is semi-regurgitated to us in the next scene, because the AGE explorers have also done some digging and found a ton of information surrounding both Rin and Ron, including this creepy line.
プリンセスは欠席。夕べから家には帰らず潜伏先は不明。こちらから接触する方法はなし。
I'm sorry, but how do you know whether she was at home or where her hiding place was? Were you just camping outside her house or something? What is the deal with this show and stalkery behavior being considered acceptable or a humane thing? It's honestly kind of infuriating. Even if this wasn't a fan service show, I wouldn't be okay with that being commonplace or acceptable.
二人には監視をお願いしたいの。
Kill me. No, seriously, stalking is not okay. It is never okay. What makes you think that it's, in your own words, fine? So now Rin is no better than the other characters that we met. To reiterate myself, is there a single character in this show that can be considered normal?
クロー姉さんはどうやってケリをつけるつもりなんですか
クローンじゃなくてよ。
二度と言いません
Clone. Please don't shoot, I have a family. Turns out this circus escapade takes us to a manga cafe where Ran has been laying low since this even happened. So the next step is...
目覚めの儀式。
In Ron lingo, that means...
預言者は言った。あまたの目が闇を貫くとき、救世主の魂は覚醒する。
If you can understand any of this, you're a philosopher.
It's a metaphor for the fact that we often choose temporary because bread tastes better than ghee.
そんなものはありません。
誰だ
なんとでもおっしゃい。
So you're fine with it now, but not before? I guess I can call you a... still haven't paid off my car. Can you please let me live a few more years?
すいません。もう少しで一区切りつきそうなんです。
Oh, I fucking wish it would end pretty soon. Like, I would pay good money to skip to the end. But then I wouldn't be watching the show now, would I?
ですんで、そっとしておいてもらえると嬉しいんですけど。
I'm staying put, dude. Stop trying to end the show early. Only I get to decide when the video ends. So Rin tries to convince the Four Stooges to give up on following the circus and instead stay home, threatening them with something nefarious. She's gonna force people to wear tracksuits.
Everything is a fetish these days.
Not now, ho-ho. Shut up! By the end of it, she drives away, sounding like the most generic anime witch girl / the most generic villain ever. Ignoring that advice, Shusuke goes alone, and we learn two things. It's not even really a ritual. It formulates almost exactly the same way as the dancing ritual we saw a while ago. And two, she asks him by the end of it to run away with her. For some reason, it's not explained. And yeah, he runs. Fast. Excuse me, what? Next episode is actually a continuation of the last episode, and it makes sense because it was a cliffhanger. What is important about this episode is the new case of Squid and Nao's locker, which seems to be from a series of jealous jockeys who get jealous that Nao is going out with Rin. These people also, funnily enough, call this character Mirei-sama.
Mirei-sama? 私のことよ。名前、ミレイって言うんですか？いいえ、名前はリンよ。じゃあ名字が？名字はヤタガイ。
And she doesn't explain why. Neither does Rin. And that's just what they call her. Genius writers.
朝もお昼休みも放課後もミレイ様を独占して。
All of those were bathroom shots, and I'm almost positive they were on the unintentional side, so your victim blaming makes no sense again. Also, I feel like Rin is a bit overrated in my opinion. I mean, this is the same person who said it was okay to stalk a person she barely spoke to. Again, I don't really think apart from, like, Haruka, there's a decent character in this show. Why, yes now. Idiots. How did we get to the top of a building? Weren't you that scared about people seeing you that you just kept running and didn't look back? Why, yes, Mrs. Yatagi. Sometimes I wonder what went wrong in Ron's past lives that made her the way she is in this one. Why, yes, Miss Takanashi. Sometimes your son does let the brainwashing get the better of him.
じゃあここで私教室向こうだしデコピンされてエクスタシーみたいな M 系の体質でもそっちの趣味もないのでいろんな意味でほんとここで失礼します。それではごきげんよう。
But you do like teasing Shusuke and are willing to make it in a relationship with him, so I don't think you're off the hook yet.
では教えてください。ストーキングしてあなたはどうしたいというの？
どうしたいってそれを。
I already feel like what you're gonna say is not worth saying, just FYI.
That neck, man. I don't even think my neck is that long. Jesus Christ.
In an effort to pursue some Yuri moments, I guess, Rin, being no better than her sister, tries to convince Nao to give up on chasing a fleeting dream and instead fall in love with her instead.
ストーキングしてることを知ったらどう思うかしら？
どす黒い。
What does this show come to? Also, you're one to talk. You did the same thing before.
憂鬱なら無視しちゃうとかは？
Exactly. Gotta give it up for the one person who thinks logically in this entire TV show. I would just ignore her. If someone was threatening me, I would turn it into the police for blackmail. By playing along, you're just playing into the person's hands. You're letting them win. And who would let a single character in this show win?
離婚も何も選択の余地はないのだ。何しろ相手はドス黒先輩。
I guess it does make you look a little cowardly, kind of like in a hierarchy, but still, if it were up to me, I wouldn't really bother me, since the only other option is letting her win. Regardless, she ends up going anyway, and is given a banquet of meals for lunchtime, and this entire conversation between them is incredibly awkward. Like, I feel awkward having to comment on any of this.
私が探しているのはどんな魔法も無力化するような究極の口づけ。
I don't understand that logic. You seriously couldn't pick personality or face or... Hang on, what redeemable things does Nao have? Okay, I can finally talk about something more in this TV show that isn't just me mocking it. The nature of some of these characters. You probably might remember about 10, 20, 30 minutes ago when I said that I was on the fence about these characters and their personalities being irredeemable. Whether it's Nao's possessiveness, Kondo's obsession with BL, or the entirety of Iroha's existence. And this is another problem that I have with them. A lot of these characters don't really develop throughout the story personality-wise. It's like being trapped in a box. Sure, Nao is probably loosened up with Iroha, and you could say the same thing about Kondo since they met. However, Nao's overall nature hasn't changed. The same goes for the rest of the cast. They feel one-dimensional, having only slight changes throughout the story without much character development. You could technically make the argument that this character, Rin, is pretty much the opposite of that, where she went from not really liking her sister and working with Nao and Iroha to liking Nao and using her sister as a pawn. But I don't really feel like the show has done a good job at that either, since there's no real motivation to explain why she likes Nao and even what she likes about Nao is flawed in its own way. It almost feels like it exists just to cause tension in the main story while her sister tries to nail down Shusuke. And for a romance TV show, character development and story progression are almost the entire point of reading and watching it, because who likes watching a story that drags on and on? Speaking of Shusuke, let's get back to him for a minute.
One thing I wish I commented on sooner was how the hell did this TV show get the same voice actress as Yuki Nagato, Anastasia Nasahara, and Chiakai Manami in the same TV show? Like, how is that fair? Because I like this voice actress.
And I have a feeling this will cause more misunderstandings and hell for me as a viewer down the line. What did I say? Of course this is gonna cause tension. I'm stealing this line and playing it when I need it, like right now. Anyway, Shusuke wants to solve this misunderstanding. So what he does is that he runs out and uses a stick to attack air. Then he gets a replica sword. I beg to differ. In fact, I'll just let Nao respond to how I feel about hearing that. Yep, that's how I feel right about now.
No, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I just need a minute. I just need a minute.
I decided to spare you the pain of having to listen to Rin's song because, trust me, it's that bad. And somehow this is supposed to convey feelings of affection.
We're begging you don't!
So she, alongside Iroha, tried to strategize and figure out a way to shake off Rin's machinations, which consist of some shoujo-type tropes, and that's about it. Truth be told, everyone in this show is a loser in some way, just for being in it. It's like Ebitin. Even the most tolerable character in that show, which is ironic because it's Ebitin, is tough to deal with. I will admit, though, I genuinely thought this plan would be stupid, but it's actually kind of fun to watch them try to shake off Ron in exchange between two people that are pretending to be Tyrell the Oracle. But they end up getting caught, and like this bitch she is, sacrifices her friend, and wow, now is lower on a scale even further. Like, why should we root for this character even more? I can't believe we're already on episode 12. Technically, it's the last episode if we ignore the OVA, which I am because the show has been pain. For those wondering what the OVA is about, it's basically like watching a shit ton of fantasies come alive at once, and I really don't want to watch that. So let's end at episode 12. We made it so far, people, let's knock them dead. With an opener that really tells me the difference between a dream sequence and reality, because this is very obviously a dream sequence. You and me both.
And the best part is, I haven't even started editing the video yet. Like, by the time you see this, all the work is going to be done, but as of right now, I'm still writing the script and making these side takes.
Thankfully, we got one more episode, and you can tell it's the end because this is another one of those TV shows whose last episode is titled after the TV show itself. Sometimes it's the first episode, sometimes it's the last. In this case, it's the latter. So for the last episode, we spend the entire day where both Shusuke and Nao are home alone, as their parents won't be coming back until tomorrow evening. So, in a frantic panic, Shusuke offers to cook something for the two of them. Anyway, this TV show kinda goes back to what it did in the first few episodes where the main protagonist is teased by Nao, with her wearing a maid outfit, calling him Shusuke-sama, and not helping him cook, and just watching him add stuff to the bowl. Yeah, I didn't know that. See, I can't cook to save my life, so yeah. I feel like that could be considered a little stereotypical if you ask me, even if he did mean it as a compliment. Time for some cliches. Accidentally fall into a position like this? Check. This? Double check. Now then mentions hearing something around the house, so Shusuke investigates. This sequence of silly moments of Shusuke acting like this is actually pretty fun. Just placing him randomly around it inspires me to do something similar. Maybe look through the peephole first rather than the... Okay, do that. Turns out it's his friends who all pick him up because they want to go dumpster diving for stuff. And are we being serious? I mean, I'm happy we get to see these guys one more time, but still.
わざわざこうして迎えに来てくれたんでしょ
Seconds later, she regrets this decision. You could have told him no if you really wanted to. So the AGE explorers go on an adventure to find all the treasures they can, while Iroha follows, because she briefly noticed them, and then loses them just as quickly, which kills all of their joy. You also got sick because of this endeavor. You know, you would think that you would at least let go of the brakes this one time just because it feels wrong to take advantage of the weak in this state. But okay, I actually can't help but feel bad for Kondo. She's the only one that's acting in this situation normally, and is trapped between a rock and a hard place. Also, I should mention our main pro tag is sick. Maybe stop acting like fools for once. I bet she's thinking to herself, while you two were acting like idiots, I was actually helping. And I can't blame her for thinking that. Do you see why I don't like really any character in this show? Other than Haruka, I guess, but we haven't seen her for a while. And you wanna know what's the best way to end this TV show? Ending narration, that's what.
結局ドキドキさせて一晩中眠らせないレッツ生殺し大作戦は失敗に終わっちゃったな
Of course it wouldn't. Why would you think it would?
Fuck. It's like having 10 years taken off of your life. Jesus Christ. This show was really painful.
So what are my final feelings on this show now that I fully watched it? Why the hell did I ask that question? Of course it sucked, the big one. The characters are hard to root for. The story's nonsensical. The character designs are really off and the animation felt off too. Plus, riding off the back of Imo's success as well as a few other TV shows around this time wasn't going to be a rollicking success for all properties. I feel like if Iroha was removed, the characters actually got developed throughout the story and things played a little tighter like Oni-Ai, Mitsudomoi, or Show Bitch, then this TV show could have been pretty tolerable or even bled into the dumb fun category. Instead, now Kondo and especially Iroha found themselves being talked about in a video that's over an hour long, and not a video where I'm praising them, that's for sure. This show, yes, is on the same level as Happy 10 for me, if not worse than Happy 10, but it's close. No, seriously, get rid of Iroha. She's like a big reason as to why this show was so fucking trash. Fuck this character.